If you're going to do a collaboration with gambling, poker, maybe a roulette wheel, there's only two ways to go about it. The first one is going to be that classic minimalist design of something like an Omega, something that James Bond would wear in a suit, sipping on a martini, looking like a badass at the poker table.
40,500,000 all in.
The next one is going to be something on the opposite end of the spectrum, like a wandering hour complication, specifically what we're looking at today from Olto 8. Today, we're looking at the King Satellite Wandering Hour Automatic. Now, this is not the first and probably not the last watch I review from Olto 8. I really love what they're doing. I love the watch models they're coming out with, and specifically this one, the King Satellite Wandering Hour Automatic, to me is just cool. Now, they've come out with two different versions of this watch in 4 different colors. The first one I have here is in blue. This is a 316L stainless steel, high polished all the way around with a blue premium top grade cowhide leather strap. We'll talk about the details in just a second. The next one is going to be a grade 2 titanium, sandblasted all the way around, uniformed finish, just looks cool. I prefer the high polished 316L stainless steel on this blue leather strap because, to me, like I said in the beginning of the video, there's only one way you should go into a casino, and that is as a high roller. And this is a proper dress watch for a high roller. So details first, then my opinions at the very end. The case diameter of this watch is 39 millimeters. The overall thickness is 13.5 with a domed, beautiful sapphire crystal air coating underneath. The overall footprint of this watch, or lug to lug, is going to be 46.5. Then the lug width, or the strap width, is 20 millimeters. So shameless plug, chase straps down below, put one of my straps on it. It's not going to look as good as this one, but if you want to dress it down, check it out. Shameless plug. Again, this watch is high polished all the way around. To me, this just looks magnificent. But I want to point out something here, which is that domed sapphire crystal. Now, if I turn the watch to the side, you can see that that satellite wandering hour movement actually protrudes slightly higher than the case itself with that bezel, and it's almost encased in almost like a terrarium inside of that domed crystal. To me, I just think that's beautiful. I think it gives a wonderful overall aesthetic and presentation, and it slims down the watch. The one thing you don't want is a bulky dress watch. You want it to be able to slip underneath the cuff with no issues, and they did it by slimming down the case and allowing that wandering hour to kind of encompass in that domed crystal. So it technically is 13.5 millimeters thick, but it actually wears more like 11.5. So slips underneath the cuff with no issues at all. Now, inside the King is a carefully modified Miyota 9039 movement. This provides pretty good timekeeping, 38 hours of power reserve, hacking, and hand winding. And let's talk about some of the key features of this wandering hour. Now, the movement itself is a pretty good movement, but everything is about the dial of a wandering hour watch. You can see this has a 3-barrel satellite configuration. At the end of each barrel is almost a needle point that points to the minute track between the 10 and the 2 o'clock positions of a standard watch. This is one of the easiest watches to read once you figure out how to read the watch, even though it looks overly complicated. Now, as the wandering hour makes its way across the top of that minute track, you can see that the hour on the barrel is the hour hand, and the minute track is the minute. So once it reaches 3:30, right? 3 and the 30, like, it's, again, one of the easiest things to read. It just looks really complicated. Now, one of the things that they did to make this more dedicated to, again, the collaboration with like gambling, casinos, poker, the roulette wheel, is one, the second hand in the center is almost like a poker chip with a poker suit printed right on top. Of course, this is all fully loomed. I'll show you the loom shot in just a minute. Another thing they did is replace some of the numerals with letters that are corresponding with the suit of a card deck. So the 1 is an A for an ace, the 11 is a J for the Jack. The 12 is a Q for the Queen, and of course this is called the King, so the King is absent from the dial itself. This thing is wonderfully three-dimensional. It has a blue backdrop, it has almost like a black cage that encaged that wandering hour barrel complication, and it's very hard to get this on camera because of that deeply domed sapphire crystal. It was extremely hard to film. So I have shots inside the studio, outside the studio. I don't think I did it justice with just how good the dial is. The blue really pops in the background. The blue of the barrel satellites pop because they're metallic, and then you have that black cage that just gives it, again, another three-dimensional look. The case of the watch is slightly cushioned case, all nice rounded edges without anything sharp. Leads down again to that blue strap. This has a crocodile embossment. The blue just looks really great in correlation with that blue dial, and it leads down to a high polished tang and buckle. And again, the gray 2 titanium is going to be a matte finish instead of a high polished finish if you want more of a rugged look in this watch as opposed to more like a dress watch. On my 7¼ inch wrist, you can see that 39 millimeters in case diameter actually fits quite well. And even though it has an overall lug to lug or footprint of 46.5, it actually wears slightly smaller than I even expected. So when operating the watch, again, a Miyota 90-39 movement, hacking and hand winding. Pull the crown out once and it immediately goes into the time feature. Rotate counterclockwise and the wandering hour spins along the dial. I can't tell you again how beautiful this watch is and how much I just love wandering hour complications to begin with. This is not the first wandering hour complication I've ever reviewed, but I do like the fact that the barrel wandering hour is used in this one instead of something like a disc, because it's just a higher level of precision to create a timepiece that for this one is under 600 bucks. Now this thing does have Swiss Super Luminova to illuminate the dial once you enter into the dark floors of that nightlife. Now my overall opinions of the King Satellite Wandering Hour Automatic. Now I love what they did with this watch. I like the high polished look of the case. I love the blue strap, I've already said that, and I do love the blue of the dial. To me, a blue dial is similar to a gray dial or a white dial. Black is overly done, overly used, it's overly simplistic, it has almost no character. White is the polar opposite of that, which is why white dials are like polar dials, and it's very bright, brilliant in your face. I look at a blue dial like a gray dial. To me, it just adds a little more elegance in the color, and this one has a lot more elegance, I think, than something like the red dial version or even the black dial version. And the reason I say that is because blue is a dress color. I can put blue with any color suit. I can wear it with a gray suit, with a dark blue navy suit, with a black tuxedo. It's going to look great in anything. Now, again, this is a high polished case with a dressy leather strap. So this is going to look great dressed up. So if you're wearing a polo with some slacks, this thing is going to fit right in. If you're wearing some cargo shorts, right, and a t-shirt, it's gonna look like a dress watch that you're trying to dress down. It's just, you can't get away from that. So if you don't want a dress watch, then get the titanium version. Again, grade 2 titanium, 50% stronger, 30% lighter. It also wears a little bit better on the wrist. However, I don't have that one, I have this one. That being said, I love what they've done with this. And like I've already complained about the domed sapphire crystal, extremely, extremely hard to get on camera. That being said, it looks great in person. It looks wonderful in person. I love this watch. I have been wanting to wear this watch since I got it a couple weeks ago, but I haven't wanted to scratch up the case because high polished cases, right? Fingerprint magnets, also scratch magnets. But this thing looks great in natural light the best. So out in the sun, this thing just shines bright and brilliant and is beautiful. Now, what are some of the critiques that I have about this watch? Well, I don't know why they didn't put the K on the dial. I think that it probably would have been better to use the ace as the 1, the jack as the 10, the queen as the 11, and the K as the 12. I just think that looks better. I don't know why they didn't do that. Maybe because it's called the king, they wanted to leave the K off the dial. But to me, I just think that is just something different that they could have done better, but that's just my own personal opinion. And it makes more sense to me, especially as a poker player. Again, a wandering hour complication watch is not for everybody. It's just not. If you don't like overly complicated watches and you want something more simplistic, something more minimal, well, I shouldn't use the word simplistic. I was already told by, I guess, an English teacher not to use simplistic, but something more minimalist. If you want a more minimalist looking watch, more slimline, a wandering hour just is not for you, period. So don't pick one up. But if you like something different, something unique, something that's gonna turn heads, and this will turn heads. I wore it for one day and 2 people came up to me and were like, oh, what's on your wrist? Now, it never happens. That never happens. I am a watch reviewer here on YouTube and nobody hardly ever asks about my watch. This is just a reality of watch collecting. Nobody cares except other watch collectors. But 2 people in 2 different occasions asked me about this watch because it really does stick out on the wrist. Looks great, feels great. And again, for under 600 bucks, I think you're getting a hell of a deal. Anyway, what do you guys think about this watch? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Again, down below is the link if you want to sign up and get a discount, save yourself some money. It's already a great deal, but if you can save yourself any extra money, you might as well. If you like the watch, get it. I love what Olto 8 is doing. If you made it this far, hit the subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really does help the channel. Hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.